Welcome to Bedtime Myths and Mysteries. Every culture on Earth has stories it tells in the dark. Stories that survived because they had to. Tonight, we tell one of them. I'm glad you're here. Let's begin. The candle has been burning for 3 days. Not because anyone forgot to blow it out, because it was never meant to be blown out. It sits at the corner of a wooden table, add as old blood, its wax pooled into shapes that mean something to the woman watching it. She hasn't slept. She isn't tired. She is working. She rolls a piece of paper between her fingers, a name written 9 times in her own handwriting. She folds it toward her, speaks words under her breath that were never written down, never meant to be. She places it beneath the candle and waits. This is not a ritual from a film. This is not theater. This is hoodoo. And it is older, deeper, and more human than most people will ever understand. So tonight, we're going in. To understand hoodoo, you have to understand where it was born, not in a forest, not in a temple, not in any place of comfort or safety. Hoodoo was born in chains. When millions of West and Central Africans were stolen from their homelands and forced across the Atlantic during the transatlantic slave trade, they brought almost nothing with them. No possessions, no freedom, no guarantees they would survive the crossing. But they brought their knowledge, their spiritual understanding of the world, the belief that the natural and the supernatural were not separate things, that plants, roots, dirt, water, and bone all carried power. That knowledge made the journey too, hidden inside memory, passed in whispers, sewn into the fabric of survival. In America, that knowledge collided with something it hadn't met before. The land was different. The plants were different. The people they encountered, both the European colonizers and the Native American nations, had their own spiritual traditions, their own relationship with the earth. And slowly, over generations of suffering and adaptation, something new emerged from the collision. Not African, not European, not Native American. Something that belonged to the people who had been forced to become something new themselves. That was hoodoo. It is not a religion. This is one of the most important things to understand. Hoodoo has no church, no central deity, no scripture, no clergy. It is a practice, a system of folk magic rooted in the practical needs of people who had nothing and needed everything. Protection, justice, love, money, healing, the ability to affect the world around you when the world around you was designed to destroy you. At its core, hoodoo works through the belief that everything in the natural world carries spiritual energy, what practitioners call rootwork. Roots, herbs, minerals, animal parts, personal items. All of these things vibrate with a kind of power that a skilled practitioner knows how to direct. A piece of someone's hair, a handful of graveyard dirt, a lodestone pulled from the earth. These are not props. In hoodoo, they are tools, as specific and purposeful as a surgeon's instruments. The practitioner, often called a root worker or conjurer, acts as a kind of spiritual engineer. They read a situation, identify what forces are at work, and construct a working design to shift those forces in a desired direction. This might take the form of a mojo bag, a small flannel pouch filled with specific roots, minerals, and personal items, carried on the body to attract luck, love, or protection. It might take the form of a candle working, where a dressed and inscribed candle is burned over a petition, a written request, to concentrate intention and release it into the world. It might involve laying tricks, placing worked objects in specific locations where a target will cross them, allowing the energy embedded in those objects to transfer. Crossroads appear again and again in hoodoo tradition. The place where 2 roads meet has long been considered a site of heightened spiritual power, a threshold between worlds where communication with forces beyond the ordinary becomes possible. You leave offerings at crossroads. You dispose of worked materials at crossroads. You go to crossroads at midnight when you need something answered. The blues singers knew this. The stories of musicians selling their souls at the crossroads in exchange for supernatural talent. Those stories didn't come from nowhere. They came from a culture that understood the crossroads as a place of transaction, of exchange, of dangerous and necessary power. Hoodoo also has a complex relationship with Christianity, not because the two are the same, but because enslaved people were often forced to adopt Christian practice while privately maintaining their own traditions. Over time, the two wound around each other in ways that became genuinely integrated. Psalms from the Bible appear in hoodoo workings. The names of saints are invoked. Prayer is considered a legitimate and powerful tool. But underneath the Christian language, the older roots remain. The belief that the material world and the spiritual world are porous, that human beings can move between them with the right knowledge, and that knowledge itself is sacred. Because that is what hoodoo ultimately is. Knowledge. The knowledge of how to survive, how to protect yourself when the law won't protect you, how to seek justice when justice is not available to you, how to hold on to love, hope, and agency when everything around you is designed to strip those things away. The woman with the red candle is not casting a spell in the Hollywood sense. She is doing what her grandmother did, and her grandmother before her, and the woman before that, who learned it on a plantation in Louisiana, when there was no other form of power available to her. She is using what she knows. She is refusing to be powerless. The candle burns. The name is folded toward her, and somewhere in the space between intention and outcome, something moves. If this story stayed with you, you know what to do. Subscribe to Bedtime Myths and Mysteries and come back for the next one. The old stories are waiting. Sleep well.